we've seen how our determination to fund our infrastructural deficit is suffering. Instead of having an improvement in respect to what was provided last year for capital expenditure, this year we are getting something lower than that. This year we're getting about just 24% of the total budget going for capital projects. It's not something that we like, and we have decided that we'll leave no stone unturned to make sure that we realize our...
Good morning and welcome to the second day of the fourth joint National Budget Public Hearing holding at the Senate wing of the National Assembly. The event started yesterday with the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, declaring it opened. Today's event, we expect more contributions from the public on the 2020 budget of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I am John Yaku. Already seated here is the Sports Minister, Sunday Dare, Minister of State for Finance, Budget and National Planning, Prince Clem Agba, DG Budget, Ben Akaboze, Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue, Babatunde Fowler. Today's session, we'll
also invite him to shed light on what he's doing. Several questions were asked yesterday. The border closure, what has that brought to us, and so on and so forth. I'm sure he'll be able to shed more light on that issue. Two of you, Chairman of Federal Revenue Service, as I said earlier, and the CG Custom, you are the main people that will help us to achieve our revenue target so that we'll be able to provide those infrastructures that we need to develop our economy. So you are welcome today. And I will begin with the Chairman of Federal Revenue Service, and then thereafter the CG Custom. If we have those who asked those questions yesterday, you can raise up your hands and repeat those questions. Then thereafter, we'll have a response, and then we give him time again to elaborate on what he's doing to make sure that we'll be able to meet our revenue targets in areas that affect his entity. Can I see your hands up there? Let me start with the man. You raise your hand first. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
Before you say something,
yes.
And thereafter, before the chairman makes his remarks, after everything, and the CG, the deputy chairman, Senate Committee on Appropriation, will also have something to say before we round up this very, very important topic. So you can go on.
Thank you very much, distinguished chair. I am Fatai Aremu. I asked a question in respect of revenue yesterday, but distinguished chair, sir, let me make this personal comment and observation before I go to the question, and that has to do with the progress that I noticed. I can see that this is the fourth national budget hearing. I have attended 3 of them. I was here in 2017, I was here in 2018, and by the grace of God, I'm here in 2019. I will be here again 2020 by God's grace. And drawing from my experiences of attending this national budget hearing, this is the first time that we are having robust attendance from the executive. Yesterday we had the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning with us. She didn't come alone. She came with the whole team from the ministry. Accountant General was here, DG Budget was here, Debt Management Office was here, in addition to other ministers that were here at the same time. I don't think we have had it so good. So I'm saying this because it's not every time that we should, when we see negative things, it's easier for us to point it out and ignore the positive ones. So we must give credit to you and the leadership of the National Assembly for realizing the fact that when 2 elephants fight, it is the grasses that suffer. Now that the executive and the National Assembly is working together, we must commend you because it's not easy to bridge that gap. Anybody who is interested in national budget, who is interested in the progress of this country, should be happy with what we are seeing. Whether that we have to say the right people are here, they can listen, and we hope that they will take action on them. So my question yesterday has to do with one of the public hearings that I attended here that was chaired by distinguished Senator Solomon, and it was on the remittance of revenue by ministries, departments, and agencies. I remember very well, it was shocking that a top official from the Ministry of Finance came out openly to say that the customs were here, FIRS was there, National Communication Commission was also there, and I think Corporate Affairs Commission. The big five were there. And he pointed to them that NNPC was also represented. And he pointed to them openly in front of the media to say that none of the agencies were remitting accurately or timely. So that brought me to the question to ask, is there anything being done to make sure that those who are holding onto the national revenue, are they remitting it accurately? Probably the strain on the revenue could be ameliorated if we can. Of course, there are efforts being made to block the holes, but the holes are still there. And the minister also admitted it, that there is progress. There is even a presidential committee to monitor revenues. Not that we have the FIRS here, the customs is here, if we can hear from them what they are doing to make sure that those revenues that belong to the country are remitted accurately and timely. Thank you very much, sir.
You, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Permit me to stand on the existing protocol. My name is Dr. Yusuf Ibrahim Kofarmata, a CSO from Kano. Please, I want to ask the DG Custom about the temporary closure of border. Actually, this temporary closure of border, specifically along the northern Nigeria, from Sokoto, Katsina, Jigawa, is creating serious problems in terms of unemployment, insecurity, and poverty. So what temporary measures are you taking to reduce such menace? Thank you very much.
Gender balance, woman? No woman. Okay, that woman there. That lady, sorry.
Mariam.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am Mariam Garba Usman from Kano. My question, actually, I reserved it yesterday, is for the FIRS. Regarding the issue of revenue generation in the country, there are some line items within the budget. We observe that there are like more of repetition annually, which we need a lot of justification, especially from the Ministry of Planning and Budget, like purchase and maintenance of cars and generators. They are annual budget line items. So what is the revenue generating officials are doing with the previous, let's say, cars or generators that are bought previous years and new ones are coming? So we need to see like justification of maybe auctioning what are the government going to generate from selling out those previous ones and all that. So this is my uptake.
That gentleman there.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I stand on the existing protocol. I'm Celestino Kodele. I work with Action Aid. Yesterday I asked about 3 questions. First of all, first one is on the issue of incentives, the harmful incentives that have continued. We've been talking about raising revenue, to fund our budget, which has continued to be a struggle. But at the same time, we give out more than $3 billion annually on harmful tax incentives. The evidences are there. So what is their fault, in curbing this? And at the same time, the pioneer status granted to companies continue, So is there a plan to review this? It's only in Nigeria that hotels have pioneer status. I don't think it happened elsewhere. The second one is on the presumptive tax regime for the informal sector. I know Dr. Konjiwala started this, but ever since we've not heard anything about that. And this is a major concern because the informal sector constitutes up to 60% of the economy. And the incidence of multiple taxation is so much within the informal sector. At the same time, there are still the high net worth individuals that are not paying what they are supposed to be paying. The third question was on the digital economy, which is the emerging trend. I was asking the effort the FIRS is making on taxing the digital economy. Is a discussion ongoing within the AU and all that? Then the fourth question is on the illicit financial flow. The Thabo Mbeki report, which is familiar with all of us, talks about 50 billion USD annually, up to 29% of that is from Nigeria. The former SEC commissioner also mentioned about up to 140 billion being lost annually on this. So what is the effort? I know all this leakage is put together. We don't need to continue borrowing. Thank you.
Gentleman over there from the disabled community.
Good morning, distinguished Senator. Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Dr. Bukola Adebayo. From Lagos CSO. I'm happy that the Chair FIRS is here. I raised part of my questions yesterday, which the Honorable Minister of Finance responded to, was about capturing the lower cadre of taxpayers, in the tax net. That has always been the general discourse in the public space, that we are not doing enough to capture the lower cadres, the micro businesses, like the last speaker talked about. But in my own case, I think that the FIRS is not looking in the side of the disability community. Normally, we tend to make our budget to the line of charity. It's good because we have the social components there, like social investment and all of that. But even those that we are trying to bring out of poverty, those we are giving market money, trader money and all of that, some of them register small businesses. I have mentored several in Lagos to register their businesses with CAC. And they are supposed to be paying tax after some time, albeit the tax may be reduced. But a lot of them have challenges in accessing FIRS's tax payment, e-tax payment platforms. Yesterday, I tried to access that platform myself. The website is not accessible to those who are blind. You will be surprised to know that in Nigeria, based on research, which some of us have done, disabled community have spending capacity that is approaching ₦1 trillion. You won't believe it, but that's the truth. So we need FIRS to capture that community. Those who can pay tax among them should be made to do so. I'm in the private sector, and I want to pay my tax. I try to do so. But where there are challenges, it discourages tax payment. Thank you.
A lady over there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Francesca Chiedu from Citizens Connect and Advice Center. My question is first to the customs. I asked about, have we been able to track the revenue before the closure of the border and what we currently have? Let's see the significance in terms of the revenue that we've gotten since we closed the border. Then we can now have future conversation about...
Excuse me, can you come again? The CG was engaged with someone, with the minister, so he didn't hear you well. No, repeat that again.
I said since the closure of the border, have we been able to track the revenue generation before the closure and after the closure. And it also brings me to the question around, we have various e-payment platforms, from Remita to other platforms that are being used by various agencies for payment. How are we able to track, let's say for instance, payment being received from customs, passports, and the different agencies where payments are made? How are you able to track that? The money you receive via the portals is still in line with what you've been able to issue. Are we able to plug those leakages? Because if we have Remita and e-payment systems, how come the revenue generation is still low? And this brings me to the question around how we're able to synchronize the various e-payment systems. When we talk about e-government, is our e-government system working? Our organization, MDA, is working differently? Are they working across purposes? If we're able to address the issues about having a unified payment system, I believe that we'll be able to block those leakages. The other question is to the FIRS. I know in the last administration, there was a lot of campaign about voluntary assets declaration, VADE. And we had deadlines to say, if you've not declared your assets, you may be sanctioned. And we have noticed that in the last 1 year, there's been a lot of silence around VADE. So I would like to ask the chairman of the FIRS, is there something replacing VADE? Since I know that we have a new Minister of Finance, what has happened to VADE? If VADE is not going to work, what other measures are you using to ensure that more people are captured within the tasknet? Thank you.
Any other person? Okay. Well, okay. Chairman, you can take some of these, you can respond to some of these questions, and then the CG Custom will also respond to the questions that were put forward to him. Mr. Chairman.
Distinguished senators, honorable members of the House of Representatives, honorable ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all thank you for the opportunity to come and clarify a few issues. We do have a submission, but I'll first of all answer the questions. The issue of the remittance by various MDAs. First of all,
excuse me, Mr. Chairman, maybe you make your highlights, then before you come to the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, just go to your highlights.
Okay.
Before you go to questions.
Thank you very much, sir. We do have a presentation that covers the first 9 months of the year. We also compared it to the previous 9 months of 2018. In 2018, collectively, we did do 5.32 trillion, which was the highest revenue in Nigeria, but out of which 53. Okay. Yes. Bring the copies down. The minister doesn't have the copy.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's just to show you how we need more revenue. You see, this event is captured live all over the world. Everybody's seeing us everywhere. But you can see light going on and off. So it shows the need for more revenue so that we can fix this problem. Yes. So, yeah. so it is a pointer, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So in 2018, where we did 5.32 trillion, which was the highest, The beauty of that collection was that 53.7% came from the non-oil. So our presentation is divided basically into two, the oil revenue and the non-oil. For the first 9 months in 2019, the achievement was 49.25%, and for the non-oil, 72%, giving a cumulative average of 60.77%. I'll also like to highlight these figures and the percentages contributed. In line with the federal government's policy to diversify the economy, in 2019, so far, 61% has been achieved. And in terms of collection, we have collected 4.012 trillion as against 3.941 trillion in 2018. So basically, we're ahead of total collection of last year. Now, the budget for this year showed an increase of 30.4% over the budget of last year. And based on the current trend, we believe that we should surpass total collection for 2018. In terms of the non-oil collection between January to September of 2019, it stands at 2.423 trillion, representing 70% of the budget achievement. And like I said before, the non-oil is currently at 1.588 trillion, representing 49%. In terms of some of the issues why we have a low collection in the oil sector, is that the production level in terms of barrels as against 2.3 million barrels per day is currently at 1.9 or 1.86 million barrels. And of course, the low price. I'll also try and answer some of the questions as I also talk about the performance. The question about the non-remittance by MDAs. I'll first of all like to put on record for FIRS that all our collections go straight to the Federation accounts. So there's actually nothing for us to remit except taxes, withholding tax and VAT. I believe the CG Customs would also answer this, but I'm also aware that the money goes straight to the Federation account. In terms of the issue as to what we are doing about other MDAs that have not remitted, we did give a submission, especially in the oil sector, for non-remittance of taxes. And the presidency actually did indicate for some of them and give them a deadline to pay the unremitted taxes.
The place that unites Nigeria.
You can follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook at NTA Network News, Instagram at NTA Network, Twitter at NTA News Now, YouTube at NTA News Online. Or visit www.nta.ng. For live streaming, visit www.nta.ng/live. Now, you can stay updated on the go, be it on your TV, iPhone, laptop, or iPad, or download the NTA mobile application from your Play Store or App Store. NTA, you can beat the rich.
The NTA and the Village Headmaster family are pleased to announce the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the award-winning Village Headmaster television series. Monday, 28 October 2019, command performances of the Village Headmaster at the Terraculture Arena, Victoria Island, Lagos. Red carpet, 5 p.m. and live performance, 6 p.m. Tuesday, 29 October 2019 at 10 a.m. Roundtable discussion at Freedom Park, Broad Street, Lagos. Theme: Drama, a tool for national development. Join the NTA and the Village Headmaster family as we celebrate this Golden Jubilee. Attendance at both events